the hidden blueprint of power, why the secrets within you must remain untouched. We begin with a truth that many overlook: the deepest powers entrusted to us by God are not meant for the world to see. They are sacred, personal, and designed to work through us in silence. Have you ever felt like there is something unique about you? Something unexplainable? Something others don't seem to carry? This isn't your imagination. There is a reason why you've always felt out of place, misunderstood, or even targeted. You are not ordinary. You are chosen. But what does it mean to be chosen? It means that within you lies a divine blueprint, a purpose crafted by God Himself. And with that purpose comes power, spiritual powers that are not given to everyone. These powers are not physical or material. They are invisible forces that shape your destiny, protect you from harm, and enable you to fulfill the mission that only you can accomplish. Yet, these gifts are not without risk. The moment you reveal them to the wrong people, the moment you expose what is sacred, you risk losing everything.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
Why is this? Because not everyone around you has the capacity to understand or honor what God has placed within you. Some will envy it, others will misunderstand it, and some will even try to sabotage it. Think back to the times you've shared your dreams, your goals, or even a vision that felt divinely inspired, only to be met with negativity, doubt, or outright hostility. Have you ever wondered why these moments often lead to setbacks instead of progress? It's because spiritual power is like a seed. It needs to be nurtured in silence, hidden from the harsh elements of the world until it is strong enough to grow on its own. Let me ask you a question. How often do you share your innermost thoughts, your divine inspirations with others? And how often do you feel drained, discouraged, or even attacked after doing so? You see, what God has given you is not for everyone to know. It is not for everyone to see. It is a treasure meant to be guarded, a weapon meant to protect you, and a guide meant to direct you. When you reveal it too soon or to the wrong people, you invite interference both from human forces and spiritual ones. We live in a world where people are quick to judge and even quicker to destroy what they do not understand. This is why your silence is not just a shield, it is a fortress. When you choose to remain silent about the powers God has given you, you create a sacred space where those powers can grow, unchallenged and undisturbed. Silence is wisdom. Silence is strength. Silence is the language of the chosen. Think of Joseph in the Bible. When he shared his dreams of greatness with his brothers, their envy led them to betray him, selling him into slavery. While God ultimately used this betrayal for good, Joseph's journey was far more painful and treacherous than it needed to be. What if he had kept those dreams to himself? What if he had waited for God's timing to reveal his destiny? How many of us, like Joseph, have invited unnecessary hardship into our lives by speaking too soon, by revealing too much? This brings us to an important truth. Not everyone who is close to you is meant to walk with you. Some people are in your life for a season, others for a reason, and only a few for a lifetime. Even Jesus, in his infinite wisdom, did not reveal everything to everyone. He spoke in parables to the crowds, but he reserved the deeper truths for his disciples, those he knew could carry the weight of his message. Are the people around you capable of carrying the weight of your calling? Or are they more likely to crush it under the weight of their own fears, doubts, and insecurities? The powers God has given you are not just for your benefit. They are tools for your mission, weapons for your battles, and keys to unlocking doors that no one else can open. But with great power comes great responsibility, and one of the greatest responsibilities you have is to protect what God has entrusted to you. This protection begins with discernment, knowing who to trust, when to speak, and when to remain silent. Here's a challenge for you: take a moment to reflect on your life. Think about the times when you've shared something precious, a dream, a goal, a spiritual insight, only to see it crumble or face unexpected resistance. What if the very act of sharing was the reason for the setback? What if God was teaching you the importance of discretion, the value of silence, and the power of guarding what is sacred? You see, being chosen is not about being better than others. It's about being set apart for a specific purpose. And with that purpose comes a level of spiritual responsibility that requires maturity, wisdom, and restraint. Just as a rare and priceless jewel is kept in a secure place, your spiritual powers must be kept within the sacred chamber of your heart. They are not meant to be displayed for admiration or validation. They are meant to be used with intention, humility, and reverence. So how do you protect these powers? How do you ensure that what God has given you remains safe from harm? The answer lies in prayer, discernment, and silence. Prayer connects you to God, the source of your power. Discernment helps you recognize who and what is aligned with your purpose. And silence shields you from the forces that seek to disrupt, diminish, or destroy what is sacred. But silence is not just about withholding words. It's about creating a space where you can listen to God, to your intuition, and to the wisdom that comes from within. It's about trusting that God's timing is perfect, that He will reveal what needs to be revealed when the time is right. Can you trust God enough to hold on to the mystery, to keep the secret, and to wait for His divine timing? Take a moment to think about this. What are you currently sharing that should remain hidden? What are you exposing to the world that God has asked you to protect? And how might your life change if you chose to guard your spiritual powers with the same care and reverence that you would guard a priceless treasure? The silent power of the chosen, building your fortress of faith. Let us continue deeper into this truth. The power God has placed within you is not just a gift, it is a responsibility. As chosen ones, we are not called to flaunt our spiritual abilities or seek validation from the world. Instead, we are called to steward them with wisdom, humility, and reverence. You may ask, why would God give me such extraordinary gifts, only to encourage me to keep them hidden? The answer lies in the way power works. True power does not demand recognition. True power is quiet, strategic, and purposeful. Have you ever noticed how the strongest trees in the forest are also the ones with the deepest roots? Their strength is not in what you see above ground, but in what is hidden below. Their roots grow in silence, stretching deep into the earth, unseen and untouched by the elements. This is the kind of strength God calls us to cultivate. Like those trees, your spiritual powers must grow in silence. They must take root in the unseen, where they can draw strength from God's endless source of wisdom and protection. But here is the challenge: silence is not easy. In a world that glorifies noise and demands constant validation, it can feel counterintuitive to keep your gifts hidden. You may feel tempted to share your insights, your visions, or your spiritual progress with others, thinking it will inspire them or strengthen your connection with them. But not everyone can handle what you carry. Not everyone can understand the weight of your calling. And sometimes, sharing too much too soon can open the door to envy, doubt, or even spiritual opposition. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you paused before speaking about something important? When was the last time you asked yourself, is this the right time? Is this the right person? Does this align with God's plan for me? So often, we speak without discernment, and in doing so, we weaken the very thing we are trying to protect. Imagine if a soldier took off their armor in the middle of a battlefield to show it off to their enemies. It would be foolish, wouldn't it? Yet, how often do we do the same with our spiritual gifts? How often do we expose what is sacred to those who are not equipped to honor it? There is a reason why Jesus often withdrew to solitary places to pray, why he chose his words carefully, and why he revealed his full identity only to those who were ready to receive it. Even among his disciples, he shared certain truths with only a select few. This was not because he was hiding who he was, but because he understood the importance of timing, discernment, and strategic silence. Do you? You see, the world does not need to know everything about you to see the light of God in you. In fact, the most powerful people I have ever met are not the ones who speak the loudest or share the most. They are the ones who carry themselves with quiet confidence, who let their actions speak louder than their words, and who trust God to reveal their purpose in His perfect timing. Are you willing to trust God in this way? Are you willing to let Him guide you in when to speak and when to remain silent? Let's talk about trust for a moment. Trust is the foundation of your relationship with God. Without it, you will feel the constant need to control, to reveal, and to seek validation from others. But when you trust God, you can rest in the knowledge that He is working behind the scenes, even when you cannot see it. This trust allows you to protect what is sacred, knowing that God's plans for you cannot be thwarted as long as you remain aligned with Him. So how do we build this trust? How do we strengthen our ability to remain silent and let God work? The first step is prayer. Prayer is not just about asking God for things, it is about aligning your heart with His will. It is about creating a space where you can hear His voice and receive His guidance. When you pray, you are not only protecting your spiritual powers, but you are also fortifying them. You are inviting God to be the gatekeeper of your heart, ensuring that only what is meant to be shared will be revealed. The second step is discernment. Discernment is the ability to see beyond the surface, to recognize what is true and what is false, what is helpful and what is harmful. It is a spiritual skill that grows stronger the more you use it. Discernment helps you identify who is worthy of your trust and who is not. It helps you recognize the difference between God's timing and your own impatience. And it helps you protect the sacred gifts God has given you from those who might misuse or misunderstand them. Take a moment to reflect on your life. Who are the people you trust the most? Are they people who uplift you, encourage you, and align with God's purpose for your life? Or are they people who drain you, discourage you, or pull you away from your spiritual path? Not everyone in your life is meant to have access to your innermost thoughts, dreams, or spiritual powers. Some people are there to challenge you, others to support you, and a few to walk with you. But only those who truly understand and respect the weight of your calling should be entrusted with the secrets God has placed in your heart. The third step is silence. Silence is not just the absence of words, it is the presence of wisdom. It is the ability to hold space for what is sacred, to protect it from the noise of the world, and to allow it to grow in the quiet. Silence is not weakness, it is strength. It is the ability to stand firm in your faith, knowing that you do not need to explain, justify, or prove yourself to anyone. Silence is a shield, a fortress, and a sanctuary. It is where God does his best work. Let me ask you another question. What are you afraid of losing if you choose silence? Is it the approval of others? The feeling of being understood? The validation of your worth? These fears are natural, but they are also distractions. The truth is, you do not need anyone's approval but God's. You do not need anyone to understand you but Him. And your worth is not determined by what others think of you, but by what God has placed within you. Imagine what your life would look like if you fully embraced this truth. Imagine the peace that would come from knowing that you are protected, that your spiritual powers are safe, and that God's plan for your life is unfolding exactly as it should. Imagine the strength you would feel if you no longer sought validation from others but found it in your relationship with God. This is the power of silence. This is the power of trust. This is the power of being chosen. As we close this section, I want to leave you with one final thought. What you carry is sacred. It is a treasure, a weapon, and a guide. It is not meant to be shared with everyone. It is meant to be protected, nurtured, and used with intention. Are you willing to step into this responsibility? Are you willing to guard what God has entrusted to you, even when it feels difficult, even when it feels lonely? If you are, then you are not only protecting your spiritual powers, you are stepping into the fullness of your calling. Unshakable and unseen: how to let your hidden power transform the world. We've journeyed together into the depths of understanding why the spiritual powers God has entrusted to you must remain hidden, nurtured, and protected. Now, let us go even deeper. Let us uncover how these unseen powers, when guarded and cultivated with wisdom, can transform not only your life but the lives of those around you and even the world itself. You see, the power God has placed within you is not meant to stay dormant. It is meant to grow quietly, to build strength in the unseen, until it is ready to manifest in ways that glorify God and fulfill your divine purpose. But here's the paradox: the most impactful power is often the one that remains hidden. It is the power that works in silence, behind the scenes, shaping outcomes and shifting realities without ever needing recognition. Think of the wind. You cannot see it, yet it moves mountains of sand, stirs oceans, and shapes the entire landscape of the earth. The power within you works in the same way. It is not something that needs to be displayed to prove its existence. Its strength lies in its subtlety, its quiet influence, and its divine origin. Let me ask you, how do you define power? Is it something loud, something visible, something that demands attention? Or is it something quiet, something steady, something that transforms without drawing unnecessary notice? The world often confuses power with noise, but true power, spiritual power, is silent, intentional, and rooted in God's will. It does not seek to dominate, it seeks to heal. It does not seek to control, it seeks to align. And it does not seek validation, it seeks purpose. Now let's talk about purpose. Every chosen one carries a divine purpose, a mission that is uniquely yours. But here's the catch: you cannot fulfill this mission if you waste your energy explaining it to those who cannot understand it. Not everyone is meant to see the full picture of what God is doing in your life. Some people will question it, others will mock it, and some may even try to sabotage it. This is why discretion is not just a practical tool, it is a spiritual discipline. It is how you preserve your energy, protect your purpose, and stay aligned with God's timing. Think about this for a moment. How much energy have you spent trying to explain yourself to others? How many times have you second-guessed your path because someone else didn't approve of it or understand it? And how often have you delayed your progress because you were waiting for validation that never came? What if, instead of seeking approval from others, you chose to trust the one who gave you the mission in the first place? What if you let God's voice be the only one that truly matters? When you stop seeking validation from the world, something extraordinary happens. You free yourself from the chains of doubt, fear, and insecurity. You begin to walk in the fullness of your calling, unshaken by the opinions of others. And most importantly, you allow God to work through you in ways that are far beyond your own understanding. This is the power of trust, the power of trust, the power of silence, and the power of being chosen. Let me share with you a profound truth. Every act of restraint, every moment of silence, and every choice to guard what is sacred is a step toward spiritual mastery. The more you protect what God has entrusted to you, the stronger it becomes. It's like a seed planted in fertile soil. At first, it's small, fragile, and vulnerable. But as it remains hidden, it begins to grow roots deep, unshakable roots that anchor it firmly in the earth. Over time, it grows into a mighty tree capable of withstanding storms, providing shelter, and bearing fruit. Your spiritual powers work the same way. They need time, protection, and nurturing to grow into their fullness. But here's the key: the fruit of your spiritual powers is not for you alone. It is meant to bless others, to bring light into the darkness, and to glorify God. However, this can only happen when you allow those powers to grow in alignment with God's will. When you step out of alignment, when you share too soon, seek validation from the wrong people, or use your gifts for personal gain, you risk stunting their growth and derailing your purpose. Are you willing to trust God enough to let your powers grow in His timing, even if it means waiting in silence? I know waiting can be difficult. Silence can feel lonely, and trusting in the unseen can feel like walking in the dark. But remember this: God does His best work in the hidden places. Think of a baby growing in the womb, a seed buried in the earth, or a diamond forming under pressure deep within the earth's crust. All of these miracles happen in the unseen, away from the noise and distractions of the world. The same is true for the power within you. It is in the quiet, hidden moments that your greatest growth takes place. So how do you stay aligned with this process? How do you ensure that your spiritual powers remain protected and grow in the way God intends? The answer lies in 3 practices: prayer, patience, and obedience. Prayer is your lifeline to God. It is how you stay connected to the source of your power and receive the guidance you need to navigate your journey. When you pray, you invite God into every aspect of your life, allowing Him to shape your decisions, protect your heart, and strengthen your spirit. Prayer is not just something you do, it is who you are. It is the posture of your soul, the language of your faith, and the foundation of your relationship with God. Patience is the evidence of your trust in God's timing. It is the willingness to wait, even when you don't understand the reasons for the delay. Patience is not passive, it is active faith. It is choosing to believe that God's plan is better than your own, even when the path feels uncertain. Patience is what allows your spiritual powers to grow to their full potential, free from the pressures of haste or fear. Obedience is the ultimate act of faith. It is choosing to follow God's instructions, even when they don't make sense to you. Obedience is what keeps you aligned with your purpose, protecting you from distractions and detours. It is saying yes to God, even when the world says no. Obedience is not just about doing what God asks, it is about becoming who He created you to be. And now, let me ask you one final question. Are you ready to step into this level of trust, patience, and obedience? Are you ready to protect the sacred powers God has given you? To let them grow in silence, and to use them for His glory when the time is right? This is not an easy path, but it is the path of the chosen. It is the path of those who understand that their lives are not their own, but are part of a greater plan. A divine mission that transcends the limits of this world. As we close, remember this: you are not alone. God is with you, guiding you, protecting you, and equipping you for the journey ahead. The powers He has placed within you are not just gifts, they are tools for transformation, weapons for victory, and keys to unlocking the fullness of your destiny. But they must be guarded, nurtured, and used with wisdom. Trust in God's plan, trust in His timing, and trust that the silence you keep today will lead to the miracles of tomorrow. You are chosen, you are called, and you are equipped. Now, go forth with faith, guarding what is sacred, and allowing God's power to work through you in ways that will transform the world. Stay strong, stay silent, and stay aligned. The best is yet to come.